Lady Cat basketball player never realizes when the odds are stacked against her, she can only be defeated by a clock that happens to run out of time. She is what a small girl wants to become, and an old woman can look back with great pride that she once was. And this is why I'm proud of these girls. They're very special to all of us.
The loss to Northrop was disappointing because we didn't play up to our ability that day. But we were young, and I know Tiffany Longworth, I know she was just so despondent because she didn't have a very good game. Actually, Debbie Benzinger, that was when, as a freshman, she kind of stepped forward a little bit, and we started saying, wow, she's going to be something.
I was more upset because I knew we could go further in the tournament than what we did. And more upset too that, it was my junior year and next year was my senior year. So I only had one more chance at it. And plus my sisters played basketball as well. So Mindy and Terry, and we're all just a year apart. So I played my whole life growing up playing basketball with them. So that was my last year playing with Mindy, my oldest sister.
We were all such competitors. Anytime we got beat, we were upset and definitely wasn't happy. But I think it just gave us, the extra oomph to, know where we're going and where we can be the next couple years.
My season wasn't very tremendous, but our team played really well, and I was hoping we could go to state, and I thought we had a great chance of going to state, but I guess we just didn't get that far. So
it seems like we are going to have to take it one step at a time. And last year didn't get past regional. This year we got stopped at semi-state. So the next step is, as far as I can see, is like going to state. So
we felt like we could go on and win state. So it was devastating. But we also knew, like looking at our team with the freshmen and sophomores and juniors that we had, that we could do some really special things in the coming years.
Watching Northrop celebrate. It was something to sit there in the stands. And I remember I was sitting by my dad, and my dad was just like, you're going to get there next year. And I just remember looking at him, I go, I know. I just knew we would.
I do remember going to actually watch that state final that year with our team. And I think that's really what got us gung-ho and wanted to make it that following year.
At the time, I was very upset during that semi-state loss because we thought we could go farther. We honestly thought we were that good to go farther, and things just didn't work out. The timing wasn't right. We were young. We were so young, but we were excited after it was all over. After our sadness was over, we were excited to get back in the gym, get back to work.
But there was no question after that loss, we felt like we, had something very special. And I tried most of the time with my teams, I tried to make sure the pressure was off them. But I knew with these kids that for the next 2 years, everyone was going to be coming after us, and that we very possibly were going to be ranked number one or really high. So we embraced it.
Our practices were so much harder than our games were. And you probably have heard that too. Our games were almost a break.
I was playing against the best in Indiana. So really, I just focused a lot on practice, to be honest.
We were so competitive, this team. And so we beat each other up at practice. It did get physical, and we'd have words, but, you know, it's kind of like that, like a sibling, you know, you just kind of let it go.
I just remember showing up for practices and, you know, we had different colored, the uniforms, the tops. We had practice shirts or you were on, you know, the starting five.
I was guarding Tiffany and Misty daily, and Coach made for sure that we were applying the kind of pressure that would make us win state.
We collectively, as together, the 10 of us pushed each other so hard in practice that the games were a break in many cases, and not to insult any team. We just knew what our expectations were. We knew what each other's strengths and weaknesses were, and that probably was the difference in other teams. They didn't know our weaknesses. They saw the highlight reel. They saw our strengths, but we knew each other's weaknesses too, and we were able to really push each other on those weaknesses and make each other better.
There was no hold back with Coach. I mean, there was one thing he knew, and he knew how to get you in shape.
Practices were a lot of running, a lot of sweet 16s is what they called them.
I remember running, if you couldn't do a 16 and 64, then you ran it again, which in theory makes no sense, right? Because if you couldn't make it the first time, but somehow we all made it the second time.
We'd have to do the box steps, you know, just from a conditioning standpoint. I hated those.
Like you have to jump up and try to touch the backboard, you know, as far as you can, you know, which I was always like 6 inches too short. And I hated that drill and running and doing it. And I remember being thankful that we didn't have to do that anymore.
We would have 2-a-days after Christmas. He would set trash cans out.
We jokingly called it Hell Week. We always, after our last game before Christmas, took a week off, did absolutely nothing. And then we came back in and we would go, actually the morning practice would primarily be a teaching practice. And we would really go through, you know, offensive structure, defense or whatever. The afternoon practices were almost total scrimmage.
I mean, you were prepared. There was no shame in puking because everybody was going to do it. I mean, we just went that hard, and you just went, and you drank too much water, you threw up, and you wished your mouth out, and then you went right back in practice. I mean, they were out there for a reason.
Trash cans were just there. We didn't put those there.
I hated him. I hated him with everything I had. But now, as I've grown up and I'm a coach myself, I know what I felt like he picked on me. I felt like he singled me out. I felt like because, you know, we would run suicides. We had to make it in a certain amount of time or the whole team had to run it again. Well, let's say you have to run a 16 in 48 seconds. I would make it in 47. I made it. I made it. I didn't see the big deal. Well, then he would put a stipulation on me to where I had to be in the top 5.
Miss Dina had to learn to get out of her comfort zone. And, you know, she would be willing to just do enough in practice to get by. And I didn't accept that. And at the time, she didn't understand it, but she does now. She's talked to me about it, and now she understands what I was trying to get out of her.
I wasn't pushing myself. And he knew that, you know. He was trying to get the best out of me, but I just thought he was picking on me. Now I realize what he was doing. You know, he knew how to get the best out of his players.
We got down dirty in practice, especially like on rebounding drills, loose ball drills, blocking out drills.
We were not a very good rebounding team in the beginning. And I distinctly remember a practice where Mike said, if the ball hits the floor, we're gonna run. And I think the first time everybody blocked out, but nobody actually forgot to get the ball. So we ran a 16. And then the second time, I think it was a super long 3, and like it was one of those things that I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, he shot it, so it would have been purposeful. And we ran again. And then I forget what happened the next time. I think like 2 people went after the ball and it fell, and we ran a third time. I mean, and after that day, I think we were one of the better rebounding teams in the state.
Until like the kind of the movement happened, I guess, like till that we started getting the following. I mean, of course, like when you're even talking about the boys basketball team, I mean, my gosh, I mean, a lot of games would be like standing room only. Like you're going and they're playing like the Marians or the, you know, the Lawrence North or whatever, like they're like the big games that drew like the big crowds. Like you're just in awe. You're like, and at the time, you're not thinking that that's going to be your following. Like, you're just not thinking, like, oh, this is exactly how a girls' game is going to be.
We had to win some ball games, and we made that happen. But, yeah, we wanted that, definitely. We wanted that, I mean, that atmosphere, like, who doesn't? And that's just kind of the neat part of this, like, you know, it eventually did happen, and to where they're scheduling, you know, between the boys' teams and the girl, like the practices and everything, and that was just neat to be a part of that. And so now the girls, you know, get to play at Memorial Gym, and it's neat being a part of that, like, transition of making that happen, you know. It's special.
As a competitor, you always want to play in front of a crowd. You always want to play, you know, in a gym packed, especially one like Memorial Gym. I mean, you know, you go and sit in a game at Memorial Gym and you go, dang, you know, we could play here. Why aren't we playing here? You know, we're just as good as they are. We, you know, and then we go back to South Campus and you're like, what the heck? You know, a small gym, a couple, you know, pull-out bleachers here and there. It didn't seem like it fit us.
You know, a lot of times people think girls are not as competitive and not as tough. They lack the skills. They're not as exciting as the boys. Playing over the course of the summer on our AU teams and then just pick up ball, I think it just kind of brought awareness to the community that, hey, these girls are good. Like, they're good. Let's go watch them.
That was a little frustrating for us, you know, for any female athlete in general, like, to just see how the boys, generally people like to watch boys, which is understandable and I get it, but like that we were so good and you know what, we just played with our style. We knew we were a fun group of girls and we just had fun with it and we played like that and we got along. And so I think we just kind of were like, yeah, well, let's just start getting people to come. And then, you know, little did we know it would build like it was, it's very cool. Like I still tell like my kids and like pull out pictures and people don't always believe it. Cause even now, sometimes women's sports don't get as many people at them depending and in high school, especially. And I was like, no, I played in front of, you know, this many people and the kids are like, no way. And even my husband who saw pictures and kind of was more closer to that age was like, yeah, they did. So it's very cool.
It was crazy. You talk about it now and to people that didn't really know, they're like, it couldn't have been like that. I'm like, it literally, we were superstars in this town. You couldn't go to the mall without being bombarded. You couldn't go into a restaurant without being bombarded. It was overwhelming. I mean, it's just, you know, we were just some kids that wanted to play ball. When you got little kids standing in line for hours for autographs, just autographs, you know, and it was mind-blowing.
Being at home, I would have little neighbor kids that would want to come down, and I didn't even know these kids and want to hang out at my house.
They somehow would get your phone number, and then your parents would answer, and they'd be like, can you talk to Thomas?
I feel weird because I felt like I had to entertain them. And I'm like, still, I'm an 18-year-old kid. What do you want me to do?
The following that we had, of course, I mean, it was just unheard of. Like, I mean, just absolutely amazing. When you start out at like your high school gym and then you get privy to move to the boys' Memorial Gym because you have such a following and such a, you know, it's just such a movement.
A lot of people, you know, only went to watch the boys. They didn't think that the girls could play as good as we did. And so I'm glad it's, you know, we were able to demonstrate that we can play just as good as the guys can. So,
and the only reason we got to play in the boys' gym was because they couldn't hold the admission. There's too many people at the games. And so, we played at Memorial Gym, but we actually didn't practice there. So it was almost like an away game. Like, we shot horribly because there was our own fans were behind the bleachers at Memorial Gym. I mean, and now that I look back, I think we did accomplish a lot at that sense because people didn't care. People didn't care about women's basketball. I think there's still a perception now that in basketball, the women's game, I coach, and one of the things that I say is you'd never make that call in a boys' game. And I think there's some truth to that. They don't think girls can make plays. They don't think that they can, have that type of athleticism. And otherwise, I think it's come a long way, for sure. I think that there's still a sense, you're still going to have older crowd. You're going to have those officials that just don't feel the women's game is as good or that it will never be as good. Now, do the women play above the rim? No. But I think they hustle more and they make more plays, and I think it's a little bit more of a pure game.
Pass for Fishboat for the layup, 2 more for Kokomo. Cats blowing this one wide open.
I think that whole year was just, we had one goal, and that's what we looked at.
The stars were kind of aligning. You knew it was going to turn into something. There was definitely going to be a comeback.
I don't think we looked ahead. We didn't, who are we going to play, those kind of things. We just kind of like knocked them down as they came. I think it's just one of those things where, we didn't care what anybody thought. We knew where we were. We knew how good we were. And, we didn't care about anybody else. We just knew we had a job to do, and that's what we were doing.
The whole season, we knew something special was happening because the community allowed us to go out and speak to young girls and to make an impact on others and to help others. And we felt accountable to the community. We felt accountable to each other. We watched, one pink shirt turn into 100 pink shirts, and it still gives me the chills because I've never seen anything like it. And to be a part of it, it's almost like a dream.
This press that this Kokomo girls are doing is just unprecedented. It's like, you can't get the ball past half court. These girls are just dominating right out of the gate. And, when you start having newspaper starting to, you start to make a little bit more of the headlines, then you start having Channel 13 maybe start coming around. You kind of know that something is great's happening when people really start paying attention to you.
Some of us come in early before school, and during the summer, a lot of us play AAU, most of us, and we just pretty much play basketball all year round. So I think that has a lot to do with it.
The caliber of players that we had and the style of play and the run and gun and the enthusiasm just within the team, and we had good coaches too. It was just all blended well, and it just felt good. Again, I didn't look far ahead. At that point, I wasn't we might make it to state or anything like that. But I knew we were pretty good, and we were probably going to go somewhere with it.
It was challenging, and the game Tiffany got hurt was at Memorial Gym. We were playing Newcastle, who is coached by Kurt Bell, who's a great coach and had a great team, and we won that game 59-57 because it was a challenge after Tiffany got hurt, and then we went down to Indianapolis. We always played a little tournament at North Central, and we had a couple fairly close games down there at North Central, but no, we had a lot of depth. And we had some young kids that it was an opportunity for them to play. Shannon Lovegrove, Stephanie Fishvote, they stepped up and let her fly and got us through that period.
18-0 and a home run outside by Lovegrove.
When I work out, I put my work when I work out.
I like dancing. I like getting everybody else to dance, and it's kind of a tradition now, so we had to do it.
That was fun. We had a lot of fun doing that. That's what I mean. We did a lot of silly things off the court together. For the most part, we all pretty much hung out together and hung out on the weekends and hung out at each other's houses and did things. So we spent a lot of time practicing that dance.
I mean, we were always together. We were always just best friends. And when we weren't playing basketball because it was midnight and we were 16 and 17 years old, and we would just go out in the garage and dance. Tiff and I mainly, and then Misty would join in, and then it happened by accident.
We always had a junior varsity tournament somewhere in the middle of the season, and the varsity would have a slumber party the night before that. And at that slumber party one year, and Tina Steiner was, they came up with this dance, and I think the first time they did the dance was at that JV tournament.
There was a night we had a slumber party over at Tiff's house. They were trying to teach us the dance that evening, but I never really I'm not much of a dancer, so I didn't really learn a whole lot of it. I learned bits and pieces of it, but never really got up in front of everybody and did the dance. I'd sat back and watch.
And that's how the team dance was put together on those weekend slumber parties. I never participated in it. I don't have the moves, but I loved it. I loved watching them do it.
There was only 5 of us, I think, that went out and did that dance. And I don't know how I got roped into being one of the 5, but there was a lot of them that didn't want to do it. And I look back now and I'm like, I can't believe it. They talked me into doing that dance. Either Tina Steiner or Misty Oliver, one of them, roped me into doing that.
Well, then the fans just loved it. So at every pep session, so after we won the sectional, after we won the regional, after we won the semi-state, after we won the state, the fans wanted the kids to dance.
And once the fans liked it, it was our way of saying thank you. It was, I mean, they paid to watch a basketball game, and they watched a basketball game, but they gave us so much. I mean, a crowd can win a game, period. And that pink crowd helped us win state, period. So it was, once they liked it, it was an honor to dance for them after every game. It was just our way of trying to give back and say thank you.
And that was like the highlight of our pep rallies at the end. When we come back in the gym after beating whoever we did in the tournament. We liked doing that.
When we did that, it just made the crowd go crazy. It was because we won. Number 1, so we've got a win under our belt, which always feels good. So you win, and then we were able to kind of go out and say, hey, thanks for coming. I don't know of anybody that's ever done that since, that like I've gone to or anything. It was just a special team. It was a special group of girls. Just the stars aligned. I've coached on and off for 30 years. Never, ever, ever have I ever seen anything like that.
I loved it, and it was fun.
When I work out, I put my work in. Ready, get, go. If you wanna play ball, gotta give it your all. Stand tall, put your work in. When I work out, I put my work. When I work out, I put my work in. Ready, get, go. If you wanna play ball.
The most fun games and the memorable games, of course, is your county rivals. I wouldn't say it's circled like you're ready, just like, like you're really going to put the smack down on or anything, but it's just like, it was different. It was fun. And those are people that you were familiar with. I mean, it's not like it was like it is now, of course, with like social media and everybody knows everybody and you're playing with everybody, it's nothing like that. So you just have like enough familiarity with people, like other kids from other schools, that made it like a bittersweet thing. Like it had that competitive edge to it that just made it, and you heard like their best, it was just kind of always fun to be that kind of rival with, who they thought their best was against the Lady Kats.
And we always had a pretty big rivalry with Western. They knew we had to pass Woody's on 26 on the way down, and they would always leave us really nice messages on cars sitting there. So, but I would say there were 2, probably Western and Northwestern. Those games always got ugly.
It was a team in the county, and we would have to practice before we played them to shoot, to do just a jump stop layup to not go off of one leg, because they would try to take Tiff and I's legs out from underneath us, pretty dirty. I think, and the thing of it, as I sit here and think about it, I mean, that is still there if I think about that person. So, it was deep.
Sometimes when you get in a
30 or 40 point blowout, you see some players starting to get a little selfish and looking for their shot and maybe trying to go to the basket all the time. And these kids are so unselfish, and we're just so thrilled with their team attitude. I don't know if anybody watches our kids over on the bench, but you know, we're in a 40-point ball game, and the kids on the bench are up on every score and cheering the kids on the floor, and it's that team attitude that we're so thrilled with.
There was no jealousy. There was no anything. Everybody knew their role on the team and played their role, and that's what gave us success.
Game after game after game, we got warned by the officials about our kids on the bench being up so much, cheering and yelling and waving towels, and we loved it. So we would tell them to back up, maybe sit down for a minute or two, but we didn't do very much to control, because it was awesome. It was just spirit.
Yeah, we got warnings. We cheered loud. We were standing up almost on the court, if not on the court.
And it was funny because if you were standing, of course, we were always usually standing, like no matter what. The bench would be standing, no matter who it was. But then when a free throw came, everybody sat down and they were like doing the thing, right? So you'd go from standing to sit, make sure you were getting into free throw position, and then you do like your little free throw thing. I don't remember it. Like, of course I should remember it because I did it probably the most out of everybody.
For a make? Are you really?
Oh yeah, I think.
I'd have to see the video and then I could do it, but I don't remember off the top of my head.
Oh yeah, so up here, and then you go 1, 2, 3, or something like that. Something like that. Wait, no, wait. I forget. Hang on.
So we clapped. I think that was it. 30 years later.
No, I don't remember that. On the bench, when we were on the bench, it was like, or something, or clap, or I forget exactly what we did.
Oh, yes, when we had our legs up, yes, and when we made it. Yep, I do remember that.
I don't know if I could or not. What was it? Was it you had your hands in the air, swish, then like that? Yeah. Is that right? Did I do it right?
Let's see here. It was like this, and then 1, 2, 3, or something. That was the gist of it, I think.
I mean, I know it's like we were all holding hands and starting like this, and then the person made the free. I honestly can't remember what we were doing with our hands.
But yeah, we put our hands up. So we went. No, we didn't clap. Oh, went up. I think something like that.
Oh God, I don't know. Left, right. Like left, right. I can't remember. Left. I can't remember. Was that it? Left, right, left.
So we're up here, right? Like this, and go 1, 2, 3. Did I get it?
I don't remember that part, but it would be like. I think we were holding hands while doing it. And if they made were our hands up? See, it's been 30 years. I have slept a lot since then. But okay, yeah.
Oh, sure. Yep.
You remember where that came from?
Gosh, no, I think Coach made it up or saw it somewhere. I think I can remember practicing it in practice. He would put chairs underneath the thing and we would, during practice the whole time.
But it was like you crossed your legs, and when like somebody was doing a free throw, you were like, and then of course when they made it, it was like, and then you like did some kind of something, and then you switched your legs. And then it was like, then you were ready for like the next thing. And then when we went in, it was like, swoosh. Like, I don't know if that was it or not.
I think I did that really bad and embarrassed myself, but oh well.
Use somebody else's, please.
I should know. I did it more than I was out there on the floor.
I think that was the first year they did that tournament. So that was kind of different. That was a big thing because Chicago Marshall was ranked first in the nation, and we were just a bunch of kids from a small town coming up there to play, and I'm not sure we got a lot of respect going up there. I think we lost by 4, but gave them a run for our money, and I think that's when some people kind of started to realize that we might not be too bad.
It was sad. We all cried because we wanted to win, and it just seemed like it was a different style of ball. It was intercity street ball, barnyard basketball. I mean, that's basically all it was. And then we found out later that a lot of the ladies on Chicago Marshall were 18, 19, and some of them had kids, children. So, I mean, they were young ladies, but, they were a great team. But we were sad, but then we thought, oh, well, now we know where we are, what we need to work on.
I would probably say that was the first time we probably got, as you want to say, a little manhandled. I mean, it was interesting. And even some of the officiating was a lot more liberal. I mean, they let a lot more go up there. And I think that kind of opened our eyes up that okay, this is how even some officials are going to call the game.
But we knew that was a tough team, and we didn't, we weren't intimidated, and I felt like we left it on the court. I mean, I think we felt good about that, but although disappointing, a loss is a loss, right?
It was awful. I bet nobody spoke 2 words. I mean, we going into that game, we didn't have any idea who Chicago Marshall was until they walked on the floor, and they literally walked on the floor. We ran out, did our circle around the gym. They literally walked out. A couple of them have their kids on their hip, and we were just like, what are we doing? Why are we here, and what are we doing? And, we get in that game, and, it's so close, and they're ranked nationally at that point, and, so many people thought we shouldn't even have been in the gym with them, and then we almost, we get beat by 3. To be that close and to get beat, to us, there wasn't anything worse. There wasn't anything worse.
We were on a high. We were ranked really high. We had a lot to prove. I feel like we had a lot to prove. And we competed, and we gave it our all during that tournament. And it was a fun tournament. It was a lot of fun. We always had fun going there. But it just kind of put us into perspective, like, yeah, you're number 1 in Indiana, but let's go outside of Indiana and just see how really good you are, It just made us even more hungry and wanting to work harder and just not lose any more games.
The ride home was emotional and sad because we lost, but also hey, we played with them, we can play with whoever and we can win this, and we are, we're going to do this. And it just, I think oftentimes having that loss and understanding the feeling helps motivate you to even continue to be better. So
It was probably the best thing that happened to us, though, having that loss before going into the tournament. You don't want to think, at the time we didn't think that, we were upset. We wanted to be undefeated throughout the season. But looking back now, I think that was probably the best thing for us going into to keep us grounded, to keep us from, reality that, hey, this is what could happen if we don't play together, we're not on, and, we're not playing our game.
I haven't been sure how good a basketball team we are up till this point, and after playing Marshall and playing them as tough as we did, and to be real honest, all we had to do was 3 or 4 little things in the ball game, and we had won that ball game. That I feel that we're definitely deserving of one of the top spots here in the state.
It was always fun when we go to a gym and we knew we were going to beat them. And we just knew it, and it was going to happen, and this is how it was going to happen. And it was just a cool feeling that we were going to beat them.
Every time we went, somewhere, we had a target on our back, and you play hard, but sometimes, back then, it was a different style of game. I think the women's game was just coming around, and sometimes I think we got perceived as, I don't want to say dirty, but we just played so hard.
There was no mercy. It was just no mercy with us. We weren't out to try to humiliate anybody, but yet we weren't out to go easy on anybody either. I mean, we were who we were, and we wanted to win, and that's honestly the bottom line.
He's going to drive the length of the floor, go all the way in, shot blocked by Oliver. Ball goes out of bounds and last touch.
I mean, it is what it is. It's our business, and that's what we're doing.
All the teams that we played were very rough with us. They were just trying to take us out. I just think that was the only way that they were going to defeat us.
We were a well-rounded team. I mean, we had a lot of great talent on our team, and we were very, we had a lot of depth. If one person was having a bad game, anybody could step up, and so we were a big threat from that standpoint because anybody could shoot the three.
I think it was fundamentals. It was just we were really fundamentally sound, and then kind of taking things up a notch. Those typical passes you would see, like the Mistina Oliver behind the back passes. A lot of those other things then could be finessed because we had the fundamentals down.
I think I was probably the more of the peacemaker out there on the court. If I saw one of our players that, was getting heated and, I was the one that, I was the leader on the team, so the senior on the team, so I would keep the calm, to make sure, I didn't want anybody to get a technical foul or, so I think I was more of the one that, tried to keep everybody in control.
Okay, we're just laying it out there, okay? So there were some spicy girls, some other teams, right? They kind of thought that they were all that too, and they might have been for their team. Like I said, there'd be one or two greats or, maybe just one that was a standout for their team. And it was kind of fun. I'm not going to lie. But when you can kind of shut up that little bit of greatness that they thought they had, it was a little bit fun.
I remember the excitement from the crowd because we played fast ball. We did not play baseball ball. And nothing against baseball ball, but we played fast, scrappy, fun to watch. Really got people excited and kind of made a name for girls basketball that night.
And there was one particular game, our score was getting really high, approaching 100, and I think they had 30 points, and we fully were laying it on. And our goal then, we're gonna get 100 points. And we did, we scored, it was probably 105, 108 points in that game to like 39. But it was a little personal.
You gotta understand, my teammates have no mercy. They had no chill. Tiff and Carrie were the most cutthroat people you've ever played against or played with. You're just happy they're your teammates.
Tiff and I would go in before school started and shoot free throws and jump shots, and then just staying focused, just tunnel vision, like on our goal, focus on our goal.
They would come in the morning before ball games and shoot at 6 a.m. at South Campus before class. They just had this focus that I think is unbelievable being that young. Tiff and Carrie were in a fight. Yelling at each other, and I remember we were at the YMCA gym, and it was just us three in there, and I was stupid. I got in the middle of them, and I got punched.
I don't know if Leslie's accurate on that. I don't know if I landed the punch. I don't know if I landed it or if Tiff did, but this is what happened if you want to know the true story. Okay, we're at the Y. We go to the YMCA every single day after school. We were downtown campus, 8th and 9th grade. We would just walk over to the Y, and Tiff, like I told you, she can wing those passes. Like, I'm telling you, like bullets.
She would think I'm doing it on purpose because I'd bullet to her and wouldn't be looking right at her and just she'd take it in the face.
And we were playing 2-on-2, if I recall, and I was on Tiff's team, and I turned my back one time, and she needed to pass me the ball. Well, she passed it.
Sometimes I wouldn't look when I was passing it, and she got hit in the head a couple times, and she would get so mad.
She passed it, hit the back of my head with the ball, and I was so furious. I was so mad. I'm like, why did you do that? And I charged after her, and I pushed her. And then Leslie goes, hey, gets in the middle, and we're just like,
The punch was for Tiff. I think it was I think Carrie was trying to punch Tiff, and I got it in the mouth.
I don't remember anyone throwing a punch.
Maybe it was me. I'll take the blame. It's okay. But I don't know for a fact if it was me.
But she learned. When I had the ball, she knew where I was on the court.
Those two went to blows a lot. The competitiveness of our team was unreal. I mean, lots of practices, lots of fights, park fights, locker room fights. I mean, it was competitive. I mean, we would race each. I mean, you tie your shoe, I'm going to tie my shoe faster. That's just that's just the way we were. It didn't matter. It didn't matter.
Who would be kicked off for the social media use now in 2022? I would have to say.
Oh my gosh.
Did everybody answer this question?
I mean, if they were the way they were then, but now.
And we would all be 18 again?
Goodness gracious, that would probably go along with.
I mean, gosh, do I have to just pick one?
Oh, it's a toss-up between two.
I know I'd probably be one of those that would be in trouble. Tiffany would probably put me up to something, possibly.
She likes to stir it up a little bit.
Like I said, Miss Dina might be a good guess, but I don't know.
Probably less.
I'm trying to think who else on our team would have. Jessica Rush. I think she would have joined me in being in trouble.
I would say Leslie. Misty might be a close second. I probably was in the top 5.
Gosh. Misty and Tiff and Charisse probably and those guys.
That might be me. Carrie.
Because I'm not afraid to voice my opinion.
We do it in a subtle way, like we don't just come out and say certain things, but people know what we're talking about.
I do not have a problem telling people what I think, and in a nice way, but I still voice my opinion.
Carrie, the older she gets, that girl, she says what she thinks, come over. But yeah, she's very, very vocal, opinionated.
Maybe Miss Dina and Tiffany. Tiffany, maybe, I don't know. And probably a few others. Maybe Charisse. I don't know. That's all I'll say. I don't know. I don't want to make them mad at me.
Probably Misty Oliver.
She was kind of a little spicy one too. Like, she didn't take crap. And, she was like a little, America's sweetheart too, but like that competitiveness that she had too, and she's pretty vocal.
Jessica as well. I forgot about her.
Based on who everybody was at 18, I'd have to say Tiffany. But it's funny because you don't see Tiffany as active on social media. I mean, I know she really touts her own kids, but it's funny because I would probably say Tiffany. And I'm sure everybody else would probably say Tiffany too.
Do I have to pick one? Just one.
Tiff.
Probably Tiff.
Are you serious? I don't know how I feel about that.
Well, I definitely don't want Tiff because Tiff starts it. I have been on some occasions with Tiff in my college days. I probably would say Carrie, because Carrie's probably like me. She's just dumb. We don't care. Swing at anybody.
I mean, if I'm in a dark alley, I would say Carrie.
Well, I know this. Carrie Stover wouldn't back down for me, but.
Carrie, no doubt. I don't know, maybe Debbie. Carrie or Debbie, one of those two. They both got some pretty stiff elbows.
Gosh, I mean, Debbie, she was silent but deadly, man. I think she could really, I feel like I would want Debbie by my side.
I want Misty all the way. She was always had your back, so.
Probably Miss Dina Oliver.
Probably Miss Dina.
Misty, for sure.
Misty Oliver.
Misty, Carrie, and Jessica.
I'd probably say Jessica, because she was the tallest one on our team. I mean, if you haven't realized, she is the only 6-foot person on our team. Everybody else was 5'9" and under. Hopefully her 6-foot presence would be enough.
Jess, like, definitely. She was pretty much by my side all the time anyway. So, I mean, if we're down an alley, it's probably going to be Jessica and I walking down the alley together anyway. So we better come up with a plan, is all I say.
Did that really happen? I can't remember.
No one. That's too important. No one.
Tina Steiner. She was so funny, and I could just see her just always being like, oh, always needing to do something, like rushing to do something. And that's who pops in my head.
I don't know who was late. I can't remember that, to be honest. But for some reason Tiffany comes to mind, but I could be wrong. Did that come up a lot?
Tiffany, for sure.
Probably Leslie Stinchcomb. She probably said herself too when she answered that.
Probably me or Amy South.
I've had people say I could be late to my own funeral before, so I'm going to just own that one.
Oh my goodness, who is that? That would be Jessica.
Was Jessica Rush playing with us then, I think? I would have to say Jessica Rush then. None of us, I don't think, were late, because if we were late, we were running. So we had to get there on time. So we made it on time.
That would be Misty, for sure. For sure.
Definitely Mistina.
Misty, probably.
Yeah, she was. Yeah.
The two kids that were late one time were Tiffany Longworth and Carrie Stover. So, although most of the time, quite honestly, they were the first kids in the gym. There's no question. I would have to have worried about Mistina being on time the most.
By me, no doubt.
You have your eye on everyone, because come tournament time, anything can happen. It's just the adrenaline, the emotion and competition during that part of the year. It's high for everyone. So I feel like anybody can win and anybody can lose regardless of your record up to that point.
Jay County, we had a scare in regional because we overlooked them. We were looking, for semi-state because we knew Northrop was a great team and they were the team to beat.
It was that year or the next year, we were actually down to Jay County in our own gym in the regional. And it was one of those things where it was almost, I remember being like almost in disbelief because like we kind of were the mentality that we deserved to win more because we worked so much harder.
And I think we kind of did look a little bit ahead. Who could we have in regionals? Well, those teams got to take care of business too, or it doesn't matter who, or even in semi-state, it doesn't matter who we're going to see because we won't be there.
The coaching staff, I'm going to say, made a mistake that day, and we never let that happen again. We played the first game in the afternoon, and I went with the kids back to the motel to get them settled, and I left my assistant coaches there to scout. And when they came back, they said, "Oh, we've got it, coach. We've got it." Well, Jay County that night, I mean, my gosh, they had some twins on the team, sisters, that they couldn't miss. And if we came out hard on them, they drove, and we either fouled them or they scored. If we sagged off of them, they hit the three. And, with, I don't know, about 3 minutes to go, 4 minutes to go, we were like, I'm sitting there going, my gosh, here we are, the number one ranked team in the state, and we're going to get knocked out in the regional.
I remember just thinking, like, we're not going to lose this game. And we did. I think we went on like a 22-4 run in the last 3 minutes.
Their coach made a mistake. He called a timeout. And I'm going to assume he called the timeout to, hey, girls, let's slow it down, blah, 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 blah. Well, what happened after that? And unfortunately, our video got goofed up, so we don't have a good video of it. But it was one of the most amazing sequences I've ever seen in basketball. They couldn't get the ball in bounds. We got the ball. We went down, and I don't have the exact, but like I remember Carrie Stover scored, and got fouled and missed the free throw. But we got the rebound and scored and got fouled. And then once they finally took the ball out of bounds, they couldn't get it in. But we like scored 12 or 14 points unanswered in a short period of time and ended up winning by, I think, 10. But it was just an unbelievable what those kids did.
So it was a little bit of kind of get your head out of your know what and understand that everybody else wants to win too. That every game is just not going, the teams aren't just going to lay over and play dead for us.
We've worked hard all summer. We worked hard all off season. We're ready. We're older. We're much more improved. So it was all thinking forward.
Kill them. I mean, it was no holds barred. I mean, we had something to prove. We had a chip on our shoulder. I mean, you're one game away from the state championship. And that was our ultimate goal from that year, 1 year ago that day. We're coming back. We're going to win. We're going to win. And I can remember Carrie doing an interview and the person asking them, well, what's your goal or what do you got? She's like, we're going to win. We're going to win. That's how we thought. I mean, there was no other. We're going to win. I mean, and that was our mentality. And even if we got down, I mean, we're still going to win.
When we were going into that game, we had to double team Leslie Johnson, so we were very nervous. That was the way we were going to beat them. We had someone in the front and someone in the back, and I was one in the back. So, yeah, we were very nervous going into that game.
I had to make sure and really block out because if not, they were tall enough just to go over my back and get the rebounds. So overall, it was really hard for me to, get a lot of scoring in, but I think I contributed, as far as the rebounds go.
Leslie Johnson, Leslie. And I had been prepped all week, and I was the one in there, and I just remember going straight up on about the, first quarter, and she drop step, waxed me, and the foul was on me. And I remember laying on the ground thinking this is going to be a long game.
Northrop started out and had a lead early, and I've got to give all the credit in the world to one of my assistant coaches, Ron Coleman, came because Northrop was big. They had Leslie Johnson inside. They had like three kids 6 foot or taller. Heck, their guards were 5'10" or 6 foot, and but they weren't a very good shooting team. And I still remember in the first quarter, Ron Coleman saying, "Coach, we've just got to pack that zone in, keep the 3 bottom kids inside the whole time, have Tiffany and Shelly cover the whole perimeter," and it worked. And then we ran them. They had Leslie Johnson, and Leslie couldn't keep up with us.
I think one of our keys there was move the ball because she can't get up and down the floor. Keep the ball moving and do our game of pushing. You're going to wear her out.
I told Carrie Stover her number one job was to run Leslie Johnson to death. And we called free throw line to racetrack. And we just told the kids, you've got to be on the racetrack. Even if we were going to go into our delay game, we were going to be on the racetrack free throw line, so their big kids had to run hard. And I think that was a big difference in the game.
And afterward, all the celebration, the hoopla.
Oh my gosh, seeing all those people and walking in and having everyone yelling and screaming at the top of their lungs, that was special.
The fans were great. I think that's when we picked up the Pepto-Bismol pink, and everybody was wearing the pink shirts and the pink bandanas.
The pink wave, I mean, it just, everywhere we went. That's what the neat thing about that was.
It was unreal. I can remember, don't know if it was an announcer, if it was in the paper, but somebody called it a sea of Pepto-Bismol. I mean, just pink everywhere. I mean, it felt like everybody in the Fort Wayne Coliseum had a hot pink shirt on, or one of the towels, one of the bandanas, and waving the bandanas. And it just, no matter where you looked, it was pink. Everything was pink. They were amazing. This city, looks like the whole city went up there. The whole city followed us no matter where we were.
We wanted something loud and proud. We were proud. I don't even know who came up with that. I don't even know, but we were all in.
Even Mr. Kennedy had a pink t-shirt on. That was just a great idea.
Right now, I would like to present to Mr. Kennedy, principal, the pink shirt.
And as the t-shirts were being made and the banners were being made and the pink, it was really nice to see how many people supported us and the uniform. It was when we moved over to the Memorial Gym and it was completely decked out in pink. It was really, really nice. And it was also nice that even the men were wearing the pink and they had the bandanas and they had the flags.
Every once in a while around town, I'll see some, an adult with a pink one of those old shirts on. So neat. That was great to look up in the stands and see all that. I mean, it was just such a bright pink too. It's pretty cool.
We were all in, we were so excited, and we wanted to stand out, and we wanted attention, I guess.
As we progressed, the more and more lines were growing to get into the games and buy tickets, and we got to see that too in the hallways.
We had scouting reports for every game. I mean, Coach did a great job. All the coaches, the assistant coaches helped with that as well. And I mean, we knew everything about every player and the plays they would run. So we were really well prepared with all the scouting reports that he would provide to us. So, we would run their plays in practice. We would know exactly what they're going to run, and so we had to take it one game at a time, though. We couldn't look at Bedford North. We had to look at Valpo first.
One of the things about this basketball team, we told the kids a couple weeks ago that the 5 or 6 most important players on the team are going to be the 5 or 6 players who don't get to play a lot. And Tina Steiner and Cherise Thompson and Amy South, and Leslie Stinchcomb and Stephanie Fishvote and Shannon Lovegrove are the kids that are coming in here now every night as our red team, and they're just really pushing the first 6 or 7 kids exceptionally hard to try to get them ready for the tournament. And in many ways, they've become our most valuable players because they've done the best job of that of any group of kids we've ever had here.
Yeah, my main role is to just push as hard as I can in practice because our starters have to be at their top condition for the games.
And sometime you act as the opponents that you're going to play that particular game, right?
Yeah, right now we're Valparaiso.
I think it really hit us when we were at the banquet, the pre-state finals banquet. And it was just one of those, just knowing we finally had arrived. And I remember the MC, all the 4 teams, and of course, anybody in the state who wants to come can go. And we had always gone to the banquet too. And I think Coach McCroskey wanted us to see that fanfare of the banquet too, so he always took us to that as well. But now we were one of the honored teams at the banquet. And I remember they're like, hey, and they were like, hey, this region, these winners stand up, and different people throughout the state are standing. And they got down to, and they were like, now the final 4 teams stand up. And of course, the 4 teams stood up. And then in a joking way, they said, okay, now the winners stand up. 3 of the teams sat down. We didn't sit down. We stayed standing, and all of us were looking at each other like this. And just kind of looking at each other like, all right, he was making a joking, I don't know if it was she or he was making a joking question, but we didn't flinch. That was our title. We didn't care that Bedford North Lawrence was standing in our way, the defending champs. We just knew they had to get through us too.
We would stay at the Speedway Hotel on the track when we went to the state game. And I'm pretty sure the curfew was, it's like 10:30. And Gary Donna came on, and I can't remember who he's with, and did his show the night before. And the show started at 10:30, and we were lights out in bed at 10:30. And he, and I can't remember who it was, went through the teams, the 4 teams, and were very adamant that Kokomo was a year away and that Bedford North Lawrence was going to win. And pretty sure there was a lot of yelling and screaming. And Mike never said anything, and then the next morning he was like, basically like, I heard you. I know you all were watching the show, and just remember it. And I think that was a lot of fuel to our fire, that just because we were young didn't mean that we weren't good enough to win.
We'd get back to the motel and get the kids food and get them to their, and they'd lay down and take a nap. And I remember, I think they all did except Shelly Moore. I remember Shelly Moore was up, and I said something, and she said, I'm too pumped, Coach. I just can't do it.
You know, of course, Coach wants you to go back and rest, right? And, you know, take a nap, and, you know, your mind's going 100 mile a minute. You know, you can't, there's no resting, you know, in between the games. But, you know, you've got to prepare yourself too, you know, you got to rest your body, because it was a tough game in the morning. So, but there was no sleeping in between games. You know, the adrenaline was going. But we knew we had to quickly go through the scouting reports, because you didn't have a lot of time. You had to, you know, we were taking it a game at a time. So we spent a lot of times focusing on Valpo and watching tapes, and we didn't with Bedford. So, you know, we had to quickly get up to speed on the scouting report for them in between games as well.
A lot of people don't realize back then we played in the state championship game. You played 2 games in one day. Like I don't think they still do that. Yeah. And that, like, looking back at now and the athletes, and I watch my daughter, that's really hard to do. Like 2 very pumped up games. And sometimes I think the second game was like a 2 o'clock game or whatever, or 1 o'clock game. So you don't have a lot of time. We had time just to get food and rest a little and then come back out. So, but I think we're ready, and you're playing on your adrenaline and your nerves, and I kind of remember those nerves. That was really nerve-wracking game. Like, to just know you're playing for a state championship, it was exciting.
Marla's the kind of gal that really has a feel for the basketball game. Good instincts, knows when to give up the ball, knows when to take the shot, can draw the foul, just seemingly an abundance of energy, and obviously their go-to player.
We had our ups and downs for sure in that game, but we stuck it out and pulled that one out. But I think it took some, you know, a little bit out of us. We used to play 2 games in one day. We'd have to turn around and play another game. And, you know, sometimes it, you know, maybe it affected us, maybe it didn't. I mean, Kokomo was good either way. They, you know, whether we were tired or fresh, it was going to be a tough game.
But no, I thought they were really, really ready to go. And as anyone that watched the game, that wasn't the case the first half of the night.
Number 1 Kokomo against number 2 Bedford North Lawrence. Both of these basketball teams undefeated this year against Indiana opponents.
Wow, to Market Square Arena, to see that, to run out to that, we were just on cloud 9. I mean, it's just, to think back, it really didn't feel, I mean, it's such a weird thing looking back now at this age. Then we were just so in the moment.
A big highlight of my life. I'll never forget. I mean, it was packed. And I felt like just like Fort Wayne, like they were all there cheering us on.
I remember you just look up in the crowd, and I mean, it just went up to the rafters. Like, you just start, and you're like going all the way up, and you're just like, and I can remember having conversations, and we're like, oh my gosh, like, look at this.
You knew who the Kokomo fans were. Loud and proud, that's for sure. And that was, I mean, and we knew, I mean, we were all just like getting like psyched up, standing in the tunnel waiting, and then when they told us we could go, it was just kind of like that, whew, that flush of adrenaline, and then hearing that.
You hear the explosive crowd as the Kokomo Lady Wildcats come back onto the court now with those black shoes and those bright red uniforms. It's time to meet the squads. Again, here's Scott Gray.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Indianapolis and Market Square Arena for the championship game of the 17th annual Indiana High School Athletic Association Girls State Basketball Tournament.
It was deafening. Oh my gosh, I know we had the most fans there. I mean, obviously you can see how it was all spread out, but we had to have had the largest fan base there.
Absolutely. That was the most exciting entrance and most exciting applause we have ever had. And it was overwhelming, let's just say that.
Yeah, it was the greatest feeling. I mean, I honestly don't think many of us felt like we were running on our feet at that point. I mean, just like floating.
We made it there. And we knew, win or lose, we were still going to win over our community because we already had.
Running out on the court and seeing all that was just like, wow, this is like awesome, like so awesome. But you didn't realize what it meant for like women's basketball at that point until maybe afterwards, and like looking on like, and even now looking back at how amazing that was, and like you don't see that now even as much in women's sports even, and that was just. It was rare. It was a rarity.
It was overwhelming. I mean, I just felt special. Let's just say that. Pretty special. Cameras on you, you got all these fans clapping for you.
It's just, it's hard to explain. It really is. But it's just real humbling, and just, like I said in the pep session after, like we wanted it because we, for all the support, and we wanted to bring that back to Kokomo and the community, and we were so proud, but we wanted it for us, but we wanted it for Kokomo.
We appreciated the fans. They were like our, sixth teammate, and they were loud and cheerful, and the pink, everybody knew they're from Kokomo, like, because we all had pink on.
We were just amazed, and you knew at that moment it was more than about a state championship. It was about a community coming together. It was about all the support for girls basketball, and you knew at that moment that you were basically part of the program that was going to carry, be the start of a movement of girls basketball that probably, is today.
I think we're just so focused on what we did. I'm sure we probably had some thoughts about it at the time. A lot of that is just kind of fuzzy. Even the year we won, it's been a while. So if you don't rewatch those things, and, you kind of forget, but, yeah, we definitely had a chip on our shoulder.
Here we go. Kokomo held Valparaiso to only 12 second half points, but Valparaiso really was off the mark. Shooting-wise, this afternoon, they hit 15 of 51 for 29.5%. Now let's see what happens tonight. Opening tip, right off the bat, controlled by Kokomo.
We jumped out to a real quick lead. I mean, they had a couple quick turnovers against our press, and I don't know, I want to say we got up 6-2 or something about that real quick. But then, in Bedford, Pete Pritchard's a great coach, and they worked really well against our zone and slowed things down, and we just, I don't know, the kids, I still remember during timeouts, of course you have those TV timeouts down there, so they're longer than you've had all year. They had what I call the deer in the headlights look, and gee whiz, what in the world's going on, and I wasn't sure what we were going to have to do to get them out of it.
This was not what our goal was, to lose in the state championship.
We're looking at Pete Pritchard as he heads off the floor with his ball club, the Bedford North Lawrence Stars, the Kokomo Lady Wildcats under the direction of Mike McCloskey, likewise heading toward the locker rooms to the east end of Market Square Arena. It is a 28-18 lead at halftime.
I just remember it was the quietest locker room. I don't think any of us, because we were just so anxious, so nervous, wanted to look at each other. Because I mean, I know if I'd have looked at anybody, I'd probably start crying, because it's like, we're losing. What does this mean?
I'm not gonna lie, we were nervous. It worried me, but I knew we could do it.
I don't think any of us thought any different. I don't think there was one person on our team that thought we weren't going to win that night.
We weren't down that much. I mean, we can turn that around, and a couple minutes. You know, you get a couple steals and we're right back in the game.
I did not get down. I was just like, you know what? This is not our team. This is not how we play. We are way better than this. We can do better. And when McCroskey came into the locker room, he was calm. We were down 10. He was super calm, and we're just like, he's not even going to yell at us. He's not even going to show any emotions at all.
And I mean, you're just like, what are they going to say? What is the coach going to say to you in that moment? And you just think, are they going to yell at us? I mean, not that he was that type, but I mean, in that moment, we didn't know what would be said. And he came in real calm, and he just started laying out facts.
You know, at halftime, I know people always think coach goes in and yells and screams or this and that. You know, I don't know if you know Chuck Damitz. Chuck Damitz was a physical therapist. He was with our team because we'd had some injuries and whatever. And after halftime, Chuck said to me, he said, I'm so amazed, Coach. He said, you were so calm talking to them. Because I just talked to him about what's going on. This isn't the team we know, you know? And, you know, you're not playing like you're capable of playing. He said, I'd have been in there, you know, throwing stuff. And I said, well, there's times we did, you know, yell and scream or whatever. But I said, that wasn't the time.
He started really kind of laying out the facts of how poorly we had played and kind of putting it out to us. This is not Lady Cat basketball. And then he kind of put it, I mean, you think, oh, this is demoralizing. But then he said, and you're only down by 10. So if you start playing Lady Cat basketball, they can't stay with you.
But I knew we had to make those adjustments at halftime and pick it up energy-wise, but in the back of my mind, not get in foul trouble.
We all had confidence in each other. We knew what we could do, and we weren't down that much. So, like, basketball's a game of runs, as they always used to say. So we were just, you know, but in the back of your mind, you're going, oh my gosh, we gotta do something here. You know, our dreams are gonna not happen. So I had like utter faith and confidence in my teammates.
Had we been down that far in a lot of games? No, but I knew we could come back. You know, there was a lot of, the locker room was quiet, but, you know, I had confidence that I wasn't giving up. I knew we still had a chance.
We just had never been in that position before, but we were still going to do it.
You could just, like, it was just building up, like at halftime, like the confidence, the fire, the desire to, like, get this done.
It was more like, we've made it this far. It cannot end this way. It cannot end this way. Look at those people out there. You know, I remember talking in the locker room. We can't, it just wasn't, it was a possibility, but it wasn't an option.
Like, you had no doubt that everything was going to be left on the floor.
They got it back together. And once they got it back together, whoo, it was pretty to see.
Points for Marla Inman. She's had 8 of them here in the second half of the ball game. She's had a sensational day today.
But at that point in time, I still thought, we got a whole nother half of basketball to go. Like, we're going to be fine. And I think that was the sense that, like, again, we just knew we had to start getting it done. I mean, and as that clock ticked in the third quarter, I think like 3 or 4 minutes left, like, you could start to see the sense of urgency towards the end of the third as it came down that, you know, we needed to start making some plays, or it wasn't going to happen. But I don't think that anybody felt like, oh my gosh, we're going to lose. We got to do it now. We just kept chipping away and chipping away.
I think it's kind of ironic that their coach decided to stall. And I remember even seeing some interviews afterwards. He even said, he was like, this team played zone defense all the time. He was like, I just thought pull him out in a man and we would just tear him up.
Coaches make mistakes. They slowed the game down and pulled us out of our zone. Well, yeah, we were a zone team, but we worked on man-to-man really, really, really hard.
That's all we practiced in practice. We only did man defense in practice. We did zone defense in games so that we could run and gun on offense so that we could fast break on offense. But in practice, all we did was man defense. And we were sharp on man defense. And when he just kept stalling, we were like, we're down. We have to go play defense. And I remember when McCroskey was like, go man. I mean, we knew what to do. It wasn't that big of a deal. And what a lot of people did not know is our man defense was better than our zone defense.
And when they pulled us out of the zone and we went man, that just took them out of their game because, we had, Shelly Moore took Marla Inman and just hawked her like everything under the sun, and everyone matched up, and that's when I think the game totally turned.
I was the defensive player. I always guarded one of the best shooters, and one thing that always stuck in my mind was, and I think this was Ron Coleman that told me this, he said, I want you to guard whoever the person was that was on that team. He said, you guard them, and he said, you stay on them like glue. He said, if they go to go get a drink of water out of the drinking fountain, go turn it on for them. That's how close I want you to be to them.
And we still could run a little bit. It still allows, but I mean, it does take more energy out of you to play man defense versus zone. But we were still able to do what we needed to do and pull out the win.
I can think back of, you felt their players starting to push more, starting to drive, and the one girl, I can't remember her name, the other guard, she started pushing more, driving more, and we just couldn't stop all of them. So yeah, you could definitely feel it turning.
Misty was just, Misty. She just showed up and she's just scrappy, falling all over the place as always.
The game became more of an up-tempo game, number one. And that really gave me, and obviously when Debbie got the steal that went down, got us the lead.
We were tied, and then Debbie, I think, had a steal, and she scored 2. And at that point, I'm like, okay, we got this.
I feel like the big turning point was definitely when Debbie Benzinger stole that ball at half court and was able to score. And that definitely changed the tempo and the feel. Like the confidence went from maybe a 5-6 to a 8-9 at that point.
Debbie Benziger was a key factor in that. I believe she was grabbing boards and she was making some key shots.
I think the turning point, it was either tied at 44 or Debbie tied it at 44. She made a steal at half court, and her number was 44. I don't know why I remember that so much, but it was tied at 4. I can't remember that. It was either tied at 44 or she tied it at 44, stole it, got a layup. At that point, I knew it was over. I knew it was over at that point.
48-47. Kokomo now must take care of the basketball. They need a hoop here. They can't give it away. They got the hoop. Great play.
And I think even that last play that Tiffany went in, spun around, and laid the ball in. We were up by 1 point at that point, and I know McCroskey had wanted her to hold the ball. He wanted to stall and take more time off the court, but I guess you say that wasn't us. That was, she saw an opportunity, we got to go score. We got to put this game away. And I think that's definitely what she saw. She saw an open lane, she took it, made a great move, laid it in off the glass, and put us up by 3 points, so it really put the pressure on them.
And that's what was unique about this team is so many competitors that we'd find a way to win, make something happen. And so it just so happened, like on our press, we picked off some passes and kind of got some momentum going. But I don't ever remember feeling like confident that you just got to make things happen in a string in a row to kind of change the momentum. That's what I remember thinking. Something's got to break. Something's got to make something happen.
Their only opportunity then was to hit a three-pointer just to send it into overtime versus hit any shot to beat us by 1. And we knew then, we know who's going to shoot. We know who on their team is going to make the last shot. And it was a matter of guard Marla Inman.
And so we had to make sure and just watch her all around. If she was in your area, pull off of your person and go double team her, because that's the only thing that could tie it up and put us in overtime. We would rather give up a 2 than to give up a 3.
I think she was the big focus. Marla was definitely the big focus. I think I think Coach definitely said that, don't let anybody get a 3 up, but for sure not her. Not her.
I know I was Gardner, at the end, and that was my only goal at that point was to don't let her get a good shot off. I know she was going to shoot it. The ball was going to her, but I needed to stay in her face and do whatever I could to keep her from getting a good shot off.
I was expected to take that shot, but we definitely had other players that could hit that shot too. So if someone else, popped open, then they were free to take it also. We didn't have a lot of I would say individual set plays. We were more of a system off. We would run our offense. We would run it well, and we would take our open shots when we got them. So that's how we kind of finished, and shot just came up short, I think. I was joking with some people. I'm like, I finally got over that loss, and now I have to relive it all over again. Like, is it wrong 30 years later still being bitter about it?
State championship by a score of 50-47. Well, they had a big 18-point fourth quarter. They only had 18 at halftime. They got 18 in the fourth quarter. A great comeback against a ball club that was a real game one and breaking the winning streak of 55 here in this one. A tremendous coaching job on the part of Mike McCloskey, who was a graduate of Kokomo High School, also a graduate of Indiana University with an A.B. degree there. He teaches in the social studies department. His wife Laura teaches science at the South Campus, and their 2 youngsters, Kyle 11 and Jenna 7, are old enough to understand what has just happened to their mom and their dad and their school and their kids. And that's a sea of bright, brilliant pink over there. And they have taken over almost the entire north side of Market Square Arena.
We wouldn't have won that without that fan support and that team behind us. And then coming home to that pep session, the pep rally after we won, that was midnight or 1 o'clock. I don't even know how late it was, but the 31 was lined up from Tipton.
Even people that weren't Kokomo coming out of their homes knowing we were coming through. I think there was even Tipton people standing out there cheering for us and everything else, and it was just like, wow.
It was unbelievable. From, of course, the kids were just sky high, and they're hanging out the windows and cars honking and everything. But when we hit the Tipton County Road, all you could see were flashing lights. I can still remember I was sitting in the front seat of the bus and had 3 or 4 of the girls were in the seat with me.
We were all like, look, guys, look, oh, look over here. And I poor Coach McCroskey and the whole coaching staff trying to keep us in the bus. We wanted to hang out the windows. We wanted to wave to everybody. And as soon as hitting Kokomo, oh my gosh. I don't think there would have been anybody who was upset, like, oh, why do I got to pull over or something. Everybody wanted to pull over. And I know when we were coming down the main road in Kokomo, if people were asleep, they were getting woke up.
As we came into Kokomo and we came down and we turned off a 31 and we went by the Highmark Tavern. And the tavern had emptied, and there are all these guys out there toasting us with beers. And all the way to Memorial Gym, the streets were lined. Of course, they had all the streets blocked.
It was late. People came out who were usually in bed. It was phenomenal.
But we would have thought that because we were like, it's so late. But everybody was coming out of their homes. And it was just, we were just like, wow, this is so awesome. And then I know once we got downtown, heading towards Memorial Gym and the firehouse that sits right there, they brought out 2 fire trucks and raised up the ladders. and then had the American flag, and we got to drive underneath of it. And that was just like, wow.
I remember all the cop cars and the sirens, leading the way, and people honking and stopping at the side of the road and, waving.
And when we pulled in and the bus parked, Jim Collane was waiting on us. And when I stepped off the bus, he looked at me and he said, "Mike, you're not going to believe what's in that gym." And I've got to throw in, in 1961, I was a sixth grader. And I went to Memorial Gym when the boys basketball team came back after the state championship. And it was literally standing room only everywhere in that gym. Well, that's how it was when the girls walked into the gym. It was standing room only everywhere. It was absolutely packed and absolutely chaos.
We were already hearing reports. It's standing room only. I don't think you can imagine what standing room only means until you see it. And we knew what door we were coming in, but when we walked in, it was unrecognizable. Walking in there, it was just kind of like, where are we? I mean, we knew what door we came in, but we were lost because you just could not make out any seating. It was just packed to the rafters. We couldn't tell one end from the other. I mean, it was almost like kind of being like disoriented because I'd never seen so many fans in that gym. I mean, even the floor was standing room only. There was people in the aisleways. I mean, it was just the best feeling in the world. It was such an amazing experience.
I don't even think there was an empty seat in the house because there was people sitting on the court. I mean, to know that people waited on us because we were cutting down the nets, we had to change our clothes. I mean, it was several hours after the game. And after they had gotten home, I'm sure that they waited in that gym until we got home. And that was pretty special. I still remember that today. That was something special. So the fans were awesome. We couldn't have done it without them.
We were shocked. We were shocked. I mean, we still tell our kids when we go to Memorial Gym how full it was. It was packed. People were standing. I've never seen it that full, ever. And I grew up in Kokomo, and I'm just in Greentown now, but Kokomo a lot, and I've still never seen it that packed. It was something special. It was just beyond special.
That was a blast. It was so fun. Like I said earlier, we had the best fans ever, and they were so supportive, and they made it fun. I mean, as much as I think they enjoyed watching us, we got a lot from them too. I don't know if that kind of stuff still happens. I hope it does, but just the support and the enthusiasm, and everybody was just over the moon happy, and yeah, it was great. It was a great memory.
30 years later, tell fans, they definitely have never been forgotten. Even all the fans who didn't have a player on the team, who just really enjoyed being there. Just to let each and every one of them know. We saw them. We appreciated them. Yes, we were typical 17, 18-year-olds. We were kids. But we did really, truly to heart. And we talked about it a lot of, wow, do you see how many fans we have? Did you see all that pink? I mean, we truly, truly were appreciative for all of the support. And I honestly think we had the best fans ever.
When I go back to Kokomo and I'm driving down the street and I see home of Lady Kats, 1992 state champion, it just brings that warm feeling. And sometimes I'll have a really awesome memory, or I'll just have that moment where it's like, yeah, I was part of that team. I supported them and I was there to help them. And, sometimes I'll remember that I braided their hair, or if the player needed something from their mom, I was trying to figure out where their mom was, get what they needed and bring it down to them. And it's those memories like that they live on. And some of us have lost our parents, and that's kind of sad, but I remember them being in the court. I remember them being there. I remember them dropping their kid off. At first, I didn't know all the parents, but as we started to get moving forward, it was like I knew almost every mom and kid how they matched. And it was kind of nice because I would remember team members. Oh, that's my grandma. Oh, my aunt came to see my game. Or there's my grandpa. And now it's just kind of like, yeah, we have some fond memories and we have stories to tell to our generation.
Oh gosh, it's been a goal, a long-term goal since I was in 4th grade, and I've worked hard. I think we've all worked hard to accomplish it, and it just feels great. It's hard to express the way I feel, but it's a great feeling.
It's always been a dream, like everybody said, and there really isn't any words for it because it's the best feeling. You don't know how to describe it. State champs. It hasn't hit me yet, but I hope it will soon.
I just still can't get over some days that I was even able to be a part of it on the level that I was.
We were all really good friends, and what we did was play basketball.
The one thing I said to those girls, don't let this define you. And they've almost to a T gone on to be very, very successful parents, very successful careers, and role models in their community. And that's what I look back and I really smile about.